have prayed for you. And once you have recovered, you in your turn must give strength to your brothers. Truly I tell you, one of you is about to betray me. Master, I'm sick at heart. Who will betray you? Is it I? He who dips his bread in the dish when I dip mine, he shall be the one. What you're going to do, do it quickly. Where's he going? I don't know. Blessed be thou, Lord our God, who hast blessed us with thy laws and made bread to issue from the earth. From now on, this will no longer be the bread of the passage of our fathers from bondage to freedom. This Passover is for you today. The passage from the bondage of death to the freedom of life. This is the bread of life. Whoever eats of this bread shall have eternal life. Eat it. For this is my body. Do this in remembrance of me. From now on, this cup will not only be a memorial and sacrament of the covenant God made with our fathers on Mount Sinai.
Completely and totally innocent. Not just innocent, but someone who did a lot of good deeds. Maybe not everyone reported on those good deeds, and a lot of people were ignorant of the truth. People are ignorant of the truth. And it goes without saying that it has entered our age. And instead of revealing the truth, they crucify it and they betray it before they are arrested with a kiss. United States of America. It wasn't perfect, just like we are. Yet, in its founding documents and the intention of the founding fathers was good. They left it in our hands, ways to amend it to fit the times. Yet it has been degraded, lied about, said that it says things that it just doesn't say. Like they wanted slavery to continue. That's not in the documents. It's not in our founding documents at all. The point was, as Thomas Jefferson said, that slavery has no place in this country. Not in these documents, not what we have set forth, not the vision that we have for this country. Slavery has no place. Abraham Lincoln said, when he came upon a slave auction where a family was being broken up and sold to different slave owners, he said, if slavery isn't wrong, then nothing is. We had good people with good intentions starting this nation. Yet we've been told that white supremacy is woven into these documents. But then we hear it is one section of society, in fact, half of America, that doesn't believe in the Constitution, that wants to destroy the Constitution. First they hail it, or first they demonize it, and then they glorify it. Tell me which one it is. Somebody's lying because you seem to flip-flop on what you want. With one hand, you say one thing, and the other hand, you take it away. This is not unusual to see amongst our leaders. At least we always knew that politicians lied to a great extent. We always knew that they gave jobs to their donors. We always knew that they philandered. But never did we think that they would apply the same measures that we saw in the past century which created the worst carnage the world had ever seen. You see, a certain group of people were called vermins. They spread diseases, kind of like this is a pandemic of the unvaxxed. Vermin. And what do you do with vermin? You exterminate them. And so they did. You blame them for spreading disease, and you lower them from humanity to rodents filled with lice and disease. So it's easy not just to get angry at them, it's easy to hurt them. It's easy to curse them, call them names, belittle them, segregate them to their own communities. And there, you cut them off from society in a way that they won't survive. They've already separated us into different communities. As I said when I started this channel, and I'll let that particular video go live again. It's funny because videos that I put on private, when I let them go live, somehow they say you can't have this up there. There's something in it that they don't want it. They don't want anyone to hear. Yet it was up there. It was up there for years. And now you find that there's something that you don't like. But in it, in this particular video, I say that they're in their ivory towers. As you can see, it's all do what I say, not do as I do. They're feasting, they're free, they're making us work to provide for them all their comforts and luxuries. And as they sit and dine in their ivory towers, they look down at us because they've separated us and they've pulled out the bullhorn that goes through all the different media and computers everywhere that they can shout at you about how awful this other side is. They're evil. They're spreading diseases. They're full of hatred. All the violence is because of them. So you give reason for one side to not just hate the other, but to destroy each other. So their hands are clean, like Pontius Pilate washed his hands of Jesus' blood. Their hands are clean. And you get down in the dirt and destroy each other till there's nothing left. And then they'll throw some gasoline on us. There's going to be a lot of gasoline, and light the match, and then bulldoze us over in the morning and build their new shining city of gold. I'm not going to mention who they are. It could be anyone. It could be demons that made their way to the surface. They might not even be human that would do such things. It could be something out of the Bible I'm talking about. I'm not saying anyone in particular or anyone who may have come from Austria or Germany in the present day, or has their family members who we don't know who their family members are, except if you scour the web, you will find who their family members actually are. And you wouldn't be surprised. Some have called him like a Bond supervillain. And I always said that particular group of people who they're blaming this other group of people who just want democracy, freedoms of America, prosperity for everyone, freedom, safety for everyone. And those who do violence, don't give them license to be bullies. Don't give them license to be violent. They need a timeout. And they don't need no bail. They need a timeout to protect all the diverse people of all the religions and races and ethnicities who are peaceful and want to be together with the other humans. We're all humans trying to eke out happiness in this world because life is short and people who are uber wealthy have decided that something that is life-giving to plants is actually poison and is going to destroy the earth. It's such a lie. It makes my head spin as a person who works the land, whose family works the land, as I'm repeating someone who's in Congress, whose family has never worked the land, but because she's considered not white and not of this evil group, she can claim that she's worked the land, and so is her family. But mine have, and I know that this is bullshit. Excuse my language. Tonight I realized why my dog died. And I'm killing myself for it. And thinking, in Canada right now, if you're unaware, if people are disabled, just disabled, not dying, just disabled, they have the option for euthanasia, for suicide. A woman could not live in her apartment, and she had severe chemical allergies, which are very debilitating. I have them, actually. You can get blinding migraines, and it affects, if you have fibromyalgia, it affects your whole body. Well, instead of giving her a place to live where it's not full of chemicals, which is easy to do, don't put in industrial carpeting, it's one thing, and use products that are natural. They offered her euthanasia. She can commit suicide. Now, it's no surprise that the dictator of that country is a dictator because he looks an awful lot like his father, if you don't know who that is. His parents were swingers, and he turns out to look exactly like the person that his mother swung with 9 months earlier. After that speech by our leader, it's being pounded into our heads every day. We can't wake up to a day when the liberals come out and say, we're going to help the poor. We are going to subsidize the people who are struggling. No one is going without heat. We're going to bend over backwards and put those leases out. They canceled another lease yesterday, by the way. So we can get enough energy because people need to not freeze to death in the winter. People need food. We need to grow food. We must stop certain billionaires from buying up our farmland in order to grow bugs. They want us to eat bugs. And do you know about bugs humans eating bugs versus animals eating bugs and birds. There's a thing in bugs called chitins, which causes spinal cancer and severe asthma attacks. It can kill you. Animals can process chitin without it bothering them. That's the reason why God put those little things, one of the reasons why God put those little things on the earth and had the animals and birds adapt to it so it wouldn't hurt them. It was safe to eat. But they're, say, spoon feeding us? Not really. Shoving it in our faces, forcing us, taking away one thing that we can afford. And first, they locked us down. They put us in prison. And we didn't know when we were going to get out. Not only did they put us in prison, they duct taped our mouths and told us that was good, when in fact, by putting these things on and off, and you go to a doctor's office or something, you touch it, and you touch your skin, you sweat inside of this duct tape, if you know what I'm talking about. You sweat. And you have to wear it outside. So as you're sweating, that's moist and warm. So things grow and you get sick. So it's not a smart thing to do. Not a smart thing to do. But they didn't want to see us and they didn't want to hear us. And they glorified oh, this wonderful. The planet is breathing now. Things are clear. Now that the people are all locked in their houses. And did I hear today? I heard today, or I say yesterday, that they're going to have periodic climate lockdowns to save the climate. So whenever they decide, I think I announced this before, this is just going to keep happening. Whenever they decide to lock us down, they're going to lock us down. And that reminds me, I find that this whole thing, the takedown of America, the takedown of humanity, and the great decrease of humanity via overdosing of drugs, which they could stop, they're coming over the border. A tiny, tiny bit of fentanyl can kill you. And the suicides that occurred during the lockdowns, and people who could not get cancer screenings because of the lockdowns. And they said they did it to save lives. Whose life? Statistics came out. More people died of the lockdowns than of COVID. So I suspect they don't care about us at all. They just want to control us. Now, the tactic that they are applying is called abuse and control. Bullies do it, and the bullies that people marry or live with do it. I know when I was living with my bully, happened to be my husband, when he didn't want me around, he sent me away. He got rid of me and sent me back home. He never cared about my health. In fact, when I was sick, he let me get sicker and say, oh, just wait one more day. Put some garlic in there. Wait some more. Give it a few more days, because he didn't want to pay for the doctor. Didn't allow me to work either. Is that interesting? Like a lockdown? Wait. You can't go to the doctors. Keep dealing with the sickness. Just live with the sickness. And I would have died. But anytime he didn't want me, he sent me away. So he didn't have to see me. Just like this. They lock us down and they cover our mouths. They don't have to see us or hear from us. And they censor us. We're not allowed to say certain things. That's abuse and control. That's what it is. Now, there's one person who they're still abusing and controlling, though they are a type of person who is strong and fights back every way they can, but not in violence. Never in violence. But they'll tell you that it's all violent. They'll tell you, just like an abuser says, if you say, try to go get help and say that I'm being abused, they'll call and they'll say, well, I felt like an abused husband, so that's why you had to do what you did. You felt like you. It turns out that actually you, who was the victim, are the abuser. Isn't that interesting how this is what's playing out before us? And a group of people who want peace for everyone, safety for everyone, prosperity for everyone, and freedom, because the person that they elected, their policies were freedom, was prosperity, was equality, was bringing up people who were poor, bringing them up, giving opportunity zones to segments of society that the Democrats have never helped, so they can get re-educated and another start in life, and to help nonviolent criminals work back into society instead of, like the other side did, paid for a year, bailed out what turned out to be violent felons, pedophiles, rapists, literally bailed them out so they can continue to burn down cities and loot, beat people up, and murder. But the scary thing is, talking to some people last night, because as you know, Bill Barr came out and said, well, they must have had a good reason to raid him. And Karl Rove said, there is nothing in the presidential act, something act, what is it? Documents Act, that he can just take that stuff. This is not true. Obama took 33 million pages, says he's going to put it on the computer. Hillary wasn't even president, so she didn't even have the authority to declassify anything, and she destroyed everything. And it wasn't just documents and boxes, it was on an unsecured server, which Comey himself said foreign entities got a hold of it. So she put it on the server, and it was open to the world, and that was filled with classified documents. It's as if, Clinton in his sock drawer. He had top secret tapes in his sock drawer. Judicial Watch tried to get them out. Tried to get them released. Hey, he's got this stuff. This isn't good. And the federal judge said, no, he's the president. They're his. If he takes them, that means they're declassified. So on that precedent, Karl Rove and Bill Barr, we know they wouldn't have put him where he was and said, yeah, vote for him to be Attorney General. If they didn't know he worked for Bush, right? Bush 1, the first Bush, for the 99 or 100-day war. Worked out very well. And of course, his son had the war for nothing. Those weren't the people who attacked on 9/11. And we all said that this war Karl Rove was Bush's brain because Bush was stupid, right? And Dick Cheney had Halliburton. They destroy countries, so Halliburton makes a lot of money building them. So they put on a false war. They're war criminals. They destroyed a country, killed millions of people. And I had people talking to me last night saying telling me that, first of all, that prominent Republicans, I say, well, not to diss you, but, we're the prominent Republicans saying that what happened at the Capitol was wrong. Of course, they never said what happened for a year across the country, because I don't think that they saw anything or much, or when the dear leader, as it's what they call it in Orwell, Ministry of Truth, said it was peaceful protests. They didn't see or think anything else. You see, once you're brainwashed, you trust someone. So whatever they say, that must be true. Even if you see it on screen, that's just a fluke. Just like when Jacob Blake was shot by the police officers, the reason why they were there is because his baby mama called them, because he took her keys and all her ATM cards and credit cards. And when he gets drugged up, he rapes her in front of the kids. So she called the cops for help. And he had 3 kids in the back of the car. And what happened? The cops were bad because they were trying to stop him. Well, they shouldn't have shot him. They should have just let him go in the car. Well, he was reaching for a knife. They knew he had a knife. He said he had a knife. He was going to get it. But also, more importantly, they knew there were kids in that car, little children, which the left said, that those kids were going to get killed. Those were his children. And how dare you do that to the father in front of those children? What could they do? He was going to get in this car, speed away on drugs, and kill all of those children. And she would have been left with nothing and watched his funeral, and the black BLM and whatever, all the groups will be crying in the streets, doing more violence, burning more things down, crying for him. And the real victim is this black mother who lost her children. If they let him drive away, she would have lost her children. If he had died, she might not have lost the children. But they're praising him and sending him money. That's a woman who's abused also by the system, not just domestic abuse. It's so flipped on its head what's happened. People who do not know the whole truth, they don't know what fascism is. They're not hearing what the truth is. I had a conversation, a brief one, on Twitter, which I think I'm not going to be on Twitter anymore, by the way. Seems like social media, I'm completely ghosted on this and all of social media. I'm ghosted. Once they peg you, that's it. If the right person is in charge and pegs you, you can't grow. I can't get to 1,000. They keep shaving people down. So I'm a little bit under 1,000, which means I can't get members. I can't get a donation like a tip. They do this on purpose. Now, what was I saying? Do you really got to look so hot? Okay, I'm looking hot at 4:04 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. I was thinking of my dog, and I realized I believe I figured out why he died. And I'll never forgive myself. In fact, I know that if I reached out to try to get help, the way things are working now, they say they care about certain lives, but if you change back, they abandon you if you want to change back, right? So there's just certain lives, and we know that people like Jacob Blake, his life matters, not the children, and not the baby mama, not her life. So if I reach out for help, like what's happening in Canada, of course it's going to come here. Of course it's sifting over the border. Look at the speech we saw the other night. Actually, I didn't watch it. I wasn't. I don't have a television. I can't afford it. If that doesn't bring reality forward, and the truth is, you'd like to think that anybody who sees it can see right through this, that they're acting like fascists. This is pure dictatorship. But they can't see it. They don't know what fascism is. One person I talked to last night on Twitter, you don't know what fascism is. Define fascism. Because she's calling Trump and his supporters fascists. And then she gives me a textbook definition, which describes the Obama-Biden administration with the government heavily regulating industry, dictatorship, and censoring people. I wrote, congratulations, you described the Obama-Biden administration perfectly. I should have wrote, now tell me, what policies of Trump does that describe, the description of fascism describe? Because you can't find one. There isn't one. And instead, she swore at me and called me an insurrectionist. My father was dying when that was going on, by the way. I was getting ready to go to see him, and I heard the speech playing probably on my computer. And he said, now go peacefully and patriotically protest. And I go, every rally that's ever been, the only violence that has occurred is when protesters come in and try to be violent towards the supporters, the people there, or to Trump. But it's a very welcoming community, welcoming group of people, of diverse people, and people of all walks and races and ethnicities and religions are very surprised that they walk in there. People are happy to see them and ask them to come join us, come with us, come on, so you can be a part of the group and feel not feel isolated. It's a wonderful, that's exactly the way it should be. So there's no thought in my head that anything was going to turn violent. So I don't know quite what happened, but I did see a line of Capitol Police heavily guarded, but they were standing back like 20 feet away from the doors and the people walking into the doors, and the people, because the doors only open from the inside, open the doors and let these people in, and they were standing back. So what was going on? If they didn't want them there, you just keep the door shut. None of them were armed. None of them were armed. But people seemed to think that they were, and they were doing all this violence. And people died, but They didn't know that the people that died were killed by not the people who marched in there, not the people who wanted to peacefully protest, were the victims. But we have a whole segment of society that half or more than half who isn't hearing the truth. And that's scary. And no, we don't know what's going to happen with the houses, the House and Senate, because the candidates aren't talking about crime, aren't talking about stopping CRT, aren't talking about protecting the parents from being surveilled by the FBI and being deemed domestic terrorists when they are only trying to protect their children, which they are butchering our children and grooming them and sexualizing our children. When I don't care what proclivity you are, children are children, and they go to school to learn. I would love to adopt a child. A child that's wandering over the border, that's thrown over here. Well, maybe they would let me adopt that child, but I'm afraid send them to school. God only knows what they're going to teach them, what they're going to come back as. And if they grow up, will they lose their mind and say, wait a second, I don't know how I was pushed into this. You can't, and the state I live in, you can't even, if you adopt a child, it still belongs to the state. So it's kind of like fostering a foster child, except foster parents get paid. The state gets off the hook for paying for the upbringing of that child because you do it, and they'll take it away anytime they want to, because you're not allowed to have the child. It's so screwed up. Of course, it's a Democrat state, it's a blue state. I'd like to say, marry me someone and bring me to Florida. Get me out of here. I don't know what the answer is, but we know that Joe Manchin betrayed us, et tu, Brute, and you, Brutus, was his stepson. And Judas betrayed Jesus, and I want to clear something up about the name Judas. They keep saying that it is the Catholic Church, Christianity, that's where anti-Semitism came from. And that's the reason why they say the Romans didn't want to crucify Jesus. It was the Jews that did. Well, there was a huge segment of Jews, I don't know if you've read the Bible, that loved Jesus. A huge segment of Jews that remain Jews, that adopted Jesus as their Messiah, but remain Jews. The apostles were all Jews. Paul was also a Jew. His name was Saul, and he was killing Christians who were converting. All Jews. The Blessed Mother, who the Catholics ask for assistance, ask to pray for us. She's also a Jew. Jesus, by the way, was a Jew. Oh, but Judas's name sounds like Jew. Well, you don't know about, and I keep this by my bed, it just happens to be there. This is Saint Jude. He's supposed to be Jesus's brother or cousin. They say he's a relative, but the word brother or cousin is the same thing. So he could be brother or cousin. It doesn't matter. But which sounds more like Jew? Jude or Judas? Jude or Judas? The syllable is emphasized, the second syllable of D-A-S. A-S. Not Jew, but Judas. This is Saint Jude, the patron saint of cases despaired of. Some people say impossible cases. They're wrong. That's Saint Rita. He is patron saint of cases despaired of, has a very high place in heaven, in the Catholic faith, and he comes through. He's come through many times. So we should start praying to him. We just say, we plead to him, and we tell us our needs, and we ask him to pray for our needs, because he belongs to the heavenly host. We know he went to heaven. Some of us aren't going there, or we're going to go to purgatory for a little while. We know he's in heaven, and he's special because he was an apostle, very, very close to Jesus. So that's a lie. People, they're clueless. Oh, Judas sounds like Jew. Judas or Jude? Which sounds more like Jew? Jude is a saint, and he's like one of the top saints that there is. Anyway, I don't know the answer, except to be kind to our neighbor, except when you're dealing with someone who has a lot of disinformation. You can point them to sources, point them to credible, good sources that they can look at, so they can see that there's something else going on. Yes, half the country burned down. Yes, the governors of those states let it happen. Yes, each state is like its own country. That's the way the electoral system is set up. And if the governor actually has more power than the president does, because the president is president over all these states, but each governor, if they say, we don't want you coming in, we want our state to burn down, he can't. And if he went in, you know what they would call him. He'd be a dictator, authoritarian, a fascist, and that special name that they first gave to Ronald Reagan. They also called him the Grand Wizard of the KKK. And then they called Bush that. And of course, Bush was an illegitimate president. That was also a election that was screwed up. But if you question their election, then you're an election denier. What's an election denier? It's like the words that they use almost sound like, did you go to school? Do you know that doesn't make any sense? That would mean I deny elections happen. It would be you deny that Biden got enough votes to become president, right? But got enough electoral votes to become. That's technically it stopped out for a second. The Congress, they certified the election. So he's president. He got what's needed to be deemed president of the United States. No, he doesn't write those speeches. Everybody says Biden this and Biden that. He doesn't do scenery or lighting or even tell the Marines to come in. That was someone else's picture that we saw the other night, that frightening picture. But that was someone else's, several people designed that whole thing and gave him the words to speak. And those are the people running this country. And that's who we are afraid of, because they are in control. And they are calling us essentially vermin. So we're less than human, which means you can exterminate us. That's what it means. And they tell us that we're the violent ones. It's very sad. So the only thing you can do is show them the truth. Show them the truth about the I'm still reading Vox and Time. I've got some articles up saying, no, that's a lie. They're not hiring an army of IRS agents, armed IRS agents, to go after people earning less than $500,000. No, in the PDF file, which I attached to the other video of yesterday, it says from 0 to 50,000. That's who they're going to audit. And it says right in those PDF documents, archived from the government, that that's where they're going to get the 87% of the money taken in from audits is going to come from people earning 0 to 500,000. So if you earn $10, $1, you're going to be audited. They're going to take away everything we have. And Joe Manchin wrote that. With his 2 widow hands, he wrote that. Now, where's the, I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you if you don't believe me. Come on. What is this here? When will Hunter Biden face the music? God, he looks old. He's 52. And he looks older than his father. Did you know that Biden has had facelifts? Is lifted up? He's had facelifts. Of course. They gave Hillary Botox. I thought it was a facelift. But then her face fell after the election because she wasn't getting any more of the injections. Let's see. Go to the channel about that. And going down here, there's Manchin. We don't like you, Manchin. You are a liar. Come on. I hate the way they do things now. These newfangled things, these youngins. Let's see. There we go. Aha. Okay. And we are going to share that particular thing. Is this it? Yes, it is. Why, yes, it is. Okay. So, are you seeing it? I want to make sure you're seeing. There it is. There it is. There it is. JCT enforcement. And I just want to make sure that you read. Pick their little things. Okay, this first page. Second page right here. This is very important. Oh, let's take a look at this. Is the screen big enough? There we go. Is the screen big enough? No, I'm not in it. That's good. Okay, so it says right here. This is the second page, so redacted a little bit, un peu. Come from taxpayers who, with reported income between $0 and $50,000, to the extent that taxpayers with sole proprietor income tend to have lower income than taxpayers with partnership or S corporation income. The distribution of the tax assessments related to underreporting of Schedule C income might not represent the distributional effects of the Green Book proposal. Let's see. let's go move to the bottom here. Here. Table below presents distribution estimated tax assessments from representative random audits related to underreporting of Schedule C income. To estimate these tax assessments, income adjustments from these audits were multiplied by estimated averages, marginal tax rates. As the table shows, more than half of the assessed amounts were estimated to be from zero, as it says right here. That's from $0 to $50,000. So if that isn't, you are making $0 to $50,000. Zero. So they're going to look at people who make zero. Oh, they can't be. They're going to be looking at you through and through, up and down, no matter how little you make. And if you make zero, they're going to audit you. They're going to audit you. And let's see, we'll change screens here. They're going to audit you because they'll say, why are you making zero? Where's the money? We're going to find the money. You're going to have to order a slew of accountants or hire a slew of accountants and tax attorneys because we're going to bleed you dry, you see. And the truth about all that is, which I'm not sure if I put this in a video, this is very important. I learned this several years ago, that even if you're a tax attorney, it doesn't matter how much education you have, or an accountant, doesn't matter. There are so many laws. The tax code is so long, nobody knows what's in it. It's impossible to know it all, which means you are breaking the law and you don't know it. And your accountant and your attorney doesn't know it. You can have a team of attorneys and they still won't know it. But it's better to have a team. That's what these big corporations have, is big teams, and they can scour everything better. So they're less likely to pay penalties. If you're a big company who can hire all these, most likely you probably have been told if you're doing something that's not quite right, so you can stop doing it. Well, Trump, who they audit every year all the time, they have all his tax records, though they changed the law. They actually changed the law after the fact. The Congress and the Senate, and they signed it into law. So they can get his tax records, even though he says he can't give it to them because he's under audit. And when you're under audit, you're not allowed to give out your tax refunds. That is the law, but they changed it. Now, we're living in a world where, yes, Trump, according to the old world order, has the right to take anything he wants with regard to his presidency. And even before that, he can take copies of everything. Everything that he has, the National Archives already has. They packed up the boxes. They know exactly what he has. They could have slipped something in those boxes. He doesn't have time to, I'm going to be leaving. He's going to sit on the floor there and pile things together neatly to take with him. He wasn't the one who did it. But they changed that law and waived his presidential right for these documents after the fact. So this is the scary thing for everyone. Doesn't matter which side you're on. You have a government that is changing the laws after the fact and has a slew of laws that nobody knows that if they want to take you down for any reason, they will take you down. Any reason, they will take you down. But if the laws are changed after the fact, say walking across a street when the light says stop to the cars and you're walking between the white lines through the crosswalk, well, you just did it. And then they decide, we're going to make that illegal. Then you go to jail. This is the country you're living under now. So you can cheer all you want what's happening to Trump and what's happening to Trump supporters and how they're demonizing them. You demonize one segment of the population, you make that okay, you make them less than human. They're not really human. They don't just do that once, just like they did with aborted babies. Did you understand? That's a segment of the population that's deemed not human. Cells, you can kill them. Now they're deeming other segments of the population. Do you think it's going to stop there? Do you honestly think that they're not going to come after you? And I'm not even thinking about this famous writing during World War II called "And Then They Came for Me." They came for the Jews, and I said nothing because I wasn't a Jew. They came for the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I said nothing because I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. And then when everyone was taken, and then they came for me, a German, a Nazi, not me, for the person writing this. And then they came for them. The man who I believe he was a preacher, a pastor, a Lutheran minister. And he said, and there was no one left to speak. So unless you speak out, unless you say no, even though I don't like their politics, but if you stop and think, the policies of that particular candidate, which they are, it's more than harassment, helped everyone, helped the poor, were raising the poor upwards. They were getting more income. They could have intact families, better schools. He gave more money to their schools than anybody. Peace in the Middle East. You see, it has to be the people above him. Not only is embarrassing them as politicians for life, but that he was doing stuff that they don't want done. As we can see what they're doing to the children. They're taking parental rights away. Your child is evil. We're evil because of the melanin content in our skin that makes us evil, when it was the tribes in Africa that went to war on the vulnerable tribes and then brought them to the coast and sold them into slavery. Before that, there was slavery all over the world. But then all of a sudden, Africa was bringing tons and tons of slaves to the coast. The world operated by slavery. People don't know that part. And there's been no comeuppance for those tribes who are now in Africa and the descendants of those people who went to war to get slaves and to trade them at the coast. No comeuppance for them. There were 10,000 slaves in this country that were owned all by black slave owners. There were free blacks. And so when it comes down to it, it isn't about color. It's about vulnerability. So whatever, if the sin of your ancestors, which my ancestors didn't have slaves, they weren't even in this country. They were in a country that was being bombarded by Egypt. The Saracen knights from Egypt were from the year 800 to 1300. They pillaged and plundered and raped and murdered from 800 to 1300. And the Barbary pirates, which were across the ocean, the Barbary coast. They're both Muslim, and they were coming, taking European slaves, about 2 million of them, all the way up to Iceland. It took a whole city in Ireland, and in Italy, an entire town who refused to convert to Islam. Men, women, and children were all beheaded. Hard to find that on the web. You're going to have to, instead of saying the whole town that was beheaded by, I believe, the Saracen knights, you have to say a whole town in Italy was canonized, for being martyrs. So even Google won't let you, they don't want you to find that. They don't want you to know the truth. So the truth is, at the same time that there was slaves coming out of Africa, which Africa has had slaves since the dawn of time. There are 7 million slaves in Africa today. There are over 40 million slaves in the world today in non-white, non-Christian countries, except we've got them coming over the border because of human trafficking and sex slavery that nobody seems to want to stop. Well, half of the country wants to stop. The other half is pretending it doesn't exist. Somebody is making money. Somebody's making a lot of money. So if they care so much about slavery, why don't they stop the slavery that's in the world today? Mostly sex slavery of young girls and young boys. Why don't they stop that? Somebody's enjoying them. Lots of people in power with lots of money are enjoying themselves an awful lot. What is the answer? The answer is we have to spread truth. We have to scour the webs and find the truth. Find the right sources. Find visuals of these events, of the burnings of 2020, the destruction. It's upon all of us. If they only would allow me to get subscribers. But somewhere in the beginning, I pissed someone off because it was about Antifa bedtime stories. I was trying to teach them about the consequences throughout time and through dictator and country after country of what communism does. And somebody got pissed at that. So I'm shadow banned all over. So it's great if you would share this video. That would be fantastic. And if that's the case, I will come on more often and I will get you fact after fact after fact. Right now I can't sleep because my heart is breaking. From my dog dying to knowing what's happening to this country. There's an anxiety, there's a fear that I cannot shake. We can't look away and poo-poo this as if he's got dementia. Somebody else is writing and staging that whole thing. This is the Democrat Party. This is the uber progressive wing of the Democrat Party. And they are demonizing half the country. They're calling us vermin. That's what that certain National Socialist Workers' Party, which sounds like communism because it's a cousin of communism. That's what they did to the people they exterminated, because you have to make them less than human. They also loved abortion and eugenics. That was big. What's her name? Gloria Steinem. They just whatever it is that they want, even though it's bad and it's a product of Jim Crow South, it's a product of Democrat white supremacy. Abortion, getting exterminated unwanted populations. She has to make something up. Oh, that's what Hitler did. Hitler locked all the abortion clinics. No, Hitler got that idea from America, from Jim Crow South, from the KKK. That's where he got that idea from. And unfortunately, it's the Democrat Party that ran it all and put these abortion clinics in all these neighborhoods. Why should you care about abortion? It's because they are relegating. Once you relegate one segment of the population that's clearly human to less than human, therefore you can kill it. Then another part of the population, deplorables, irredeemables, xenophobes, Islamophobes, misogynists, you degrade them. They're no longer human. You can exterminate them too. They're spreading disease, they're vermin. This is a plague of the unvaccinated. This is how it happens. It starts with one, which should never happen to babies, ever. And then it moves, even if you're for abortion, you allow this, you're degrading, you're lowering your own humanity, you're lowering your own value, because soon will be another segment of them. You get rid of all the deplorables, there'll be another segment of the population that they don't like, because they want to do this and that in the world. They're closing all the nuclear power plants, and they're going to let the people in Europe freeze. Oh, I read about that. I looked it up on Yandex, and was it Fox or something said, Germany's been talking about this since the 70s, and a lot of people were protesting in this China syndrome, and they kind of overblew everything because the lowest amount of deaths than any energy source is nuclear. So that's the reason why during an energy crisis where people, this winter is going to be bad, are going to freeze to death. I know in England, the winters aren't bad. They don't even get snow. In America, in the Northeast, we get snow, or the north of the nation, we get lots of snow. It gets very, very cold. There is no global warming here. There is no, and of course, Canada and all that. There is no global warming here. They have no idea in England how cold it actually gets. So lowering the world's temperature is the most absurd, even by 1 degree, is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. So during an energy crisis, close the nuclear power plants, which is clean energy, the lowest amount of deaths associated with it. They have the tools. Nord Stream 1 pipeline is closed. Nord Stream 2, where the hell did that go? Never opened. People are going to die this winter. People are going to die. I might die. This house has rickety, I don't even have screens or storm windows for all the windows. They're old windows. I can't afford it. But this is the place I have to live, have a roof over my head. And that's all I want in life. It's just a safe place to live, a backyard that's got some nice trees so I can walk out in peace, and my dog. That's all I have in life. And somehow it was all, I didn't know how I was going to make it, but now it's so absurd. And I already owe heat, the money I owe last year's bill, because I wasn't well and I couldn't get the papers in on time to get fuel assistance. So I owe $2,000. So my heat's going to get shut off. I'm not going to have any oil this winter. And fuel assistance is not going to help me with it, because we have to know that there's an open border. So a lot of people need to be housed. And now they're not just talking about eating bugs, and Gates is buying up all the farmland to grow bugs, but they're talking about drinking our own urine. Drinking urine. You know what's going to happen? No matter how absurd anything sounds, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And they're giving this to us. We're vermin. We can eat bugs. We can drink our own urine. We're lower than vermin. I think our vermin eat better than that. They don't even drink their own urine. But they can do it. Lock them down. Let them feed off of each other. Let them become cannibals. That is what's happening, and it's not even absurd. They will eat meat. They will eat well. They want to lower everything they are doing, they're lowering the population. Now, I'm going to make a video on ways to save water that you have no idea that this has been around for over 100 years. My father's foster family, their brother or whatever had a house and had a garden, and this is what he did to water his garden. And then my Aunt June belonged to some kind of very wealthy garden club in Lexington, very wealthy part. And they became very wealthy, even though he just went to business school to learn accounting, became a CPI with the government. They didn't want him to retire. They kept sending him to colleges to teach students all over the country. Because he was so honest and was very smart. And anyway, they were wealthy, and she belongs to this garden club. And she award-winning, and her gardens were award-winning. And she told us to do the same thing. She says, this is what you do to save water, and it nourishes the plants. And it's so simple. And if everybody did it, they would still probably say there was a water shortage. You know them. Or it's not good reusing the water because it makes more global warming and there isn't enough water. What do you mean? This is the way God created it. It evaporates. It gets cleansed. When it evaporates, it gets, the dirt actually cleans it. It goes into the dirt, goes through the plants, it evaporates out, it goes into the trees. The trees are a mechanism for creating rain clouds, and we're cutting them down, and that's what they're cutting down in Germany and Poland and Europe, and England's been cutting down primeval forests because of climate change. And they're eradicating ancient forests in Scotland. And Prince Charles is talking about keeping the wild places wild and the environment, and let the nature grow. And they're cutting them down for wind farms, cleaning the grounds, sanitizing it of everything for acres and acres for wind farms, windmills that you cannot recycle, that use fossil fuels to build because they can't produce enough energy to build one of them. And they're poisonous, and so are those solar panels. This is insane, and somebody with sanity has got to stand up and say no. Someone does. If I had the subs, people would hear my voice and I would be like a loudspeaker. We have to stop this, because if you care about the planet out there, people who hate me, if you care about the planet, you must stop this green energy. It's impoverishing the people. People are going to die en masse this winter. And it's killing the planet that you love. Remember, plants need carbon dioxide. That's their oxygen. And they breathe out oxygen. It's the most instantly renewable of all gases, all energy sources. It's the most instantly renewable. Anyway, I hope that was hopeful in some way. And yes, we're entering darkness, but it takes every single one of us to get the truth out. Get your sources, get your links, show people, talk to them, tell them this is what we want for the world. We want prosperity for everyone. We want peace for the world. We don't want any wars. We don't want heavy regulations where it's driving businesses out of the country, which is fascism. Though fascism, they wouldn't let anybody leave. How about that? Well, it's driving where business out of the country to countries that have no regulations and controls on emissions or pollution of any kind. Tell them the truth. And we want to see people who are poor moving up. But if you have an open border, unfortunately, we will be drinking urine, because there are droughts all the time, all over the country. You know, anytime summer comes, oh, global warming. Well, it's actually summer. But there will be droughts. And they will make us eat bugs because we've got all these people coming in this country. That's why it's better having people come from warm climates, and you come here, and the energy, we need energy to heat the cold parts of the country. It's better as far as pollution and emissions go to spread it out, because the earth has a better chance of recycling it. If it's not let out in a huge amount at once, like when they make batteries for electric vehicles, it's the same amount is let out as a combustion engine or gas-powered engine in 8 years. A little bit over time, which the atmosphere takes in, and Earth does have a way of cleaning things out. It's amazing the way God created this Earth. But it's better to have things spread. That's why there's more water sources and springs, fresh water. And then you come to a place that's overcrowded. The sewer pipes aren't even big enough, let alone water and food. And with Gates and China buying up our farmland, what food is there going to be for these people? That's one thing. Another thing Trump did was he sent Pompeo up and down the coast. We went to every country and said, how can we work together to help you? People are leaving this country because of crime and poverty. How can we build your country up so you've got the jobs and you've got safe streets and you've got a good police department? How can we make your country like America or better than America. That's what he was one of the many things he was doing while they were impeaching him and investigating for a Russia collusion hoax, which turns out to be a hoax. How can you believe anything these people say when it turns out that what they've been telling you and the media is colluding, if there's the collusion, for years turns out to be a hoax? How can you believe anything they say? Anyway, good morning. God bless you. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow night. The fair is in town. I'd love to record that, but I have no room on my phone. Just, I don't know where it is. I don't know what to erase so I can show you some highlights of the fair. It's if I go, I'll go alone. The only friend that I went with once found out that I was on the wrong side of the political fence and freaked out. Talked about somebody I knew since I was like a teenager. Never had a relationship like that. Just was a friend. But I guess he was kind of weird, to be honest. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, God bless you. Let the Lord be with you. Go to church today if you'd like to, before they take that away. During lockdowns, they close the churches, but they kept the pot stores open, and the liquor stores stayed open. They closed my favorite restaurant in town, closed. It's a pot store now. Now we have about 7 to 10 pot stores in the downtown vicinity. That's how much pot is being sold. That's just all the restaurants that went under, just turn them all into pot stores. We can't get enough pot stores. They want us dumbed down, don't they? Bread and circuses with entertainment and wine. They gave away free wine, free entertainment. That's what they want. They want to dumb us down. And they're going to do what they do. And all of a sudden, Klaus Schwab comes in. This is mine. I own all this. Oh my God. I own your country. I own my country. I own the whole world. The whole world. Who said that? The whole world. Was that somewhere in Willy Wonka? Oh, yes. Augustus Gloop, the head of the WEF, an example for the whole world. Oh my God. Augustus Gloop is going to be king of the world. He already is. And was it the first person that did the advertising for the You Will Own Nothing and Be Happy? It was Prince Charles. He cares about the environment. No, he doesn't. He wants to eliminate us. I mean, wake up. People say, William and all. Meghan's on the same bandwagon. You notice how she doesn't say anything against all this, because that's the platform of the Democrat Party. She's walking lockstep with them. No matter how nice they seem, they really don't like us. We're underlings, and they really don't like us. A famous, he was friends with Prince Philip, who always made jokes about, I'm going to come back as a disease and kill 3/4 of the whole world. Well, it sounds like that's what they want to do. His jokes were like that. They were really kind of strange. But this guy, Giles Brandis, he's an author. He's friends with Prince Philip. And he said once, you have to remember, royalty doesn't offer you friendship. They never offer friendship. They offer friendliness. There's a difference. So you'll never humanity. See, if you believe that you're in the position that you're in, and it's the monarchy must survive. That's what was driven into the Queen by her grandmother, Queen Mary. The monarchy must survive. God put you in this position. You must do anything to make sure the monarchy survives. God put you in this position, which means that whatever you own, you own. It's okay if you own too much and too much jewelry and have this huge basement. It's as big as Buckingham Palace. That's temperature controlled like a refrigerator, that has hundreds of thousands of tons of furs that you will never wear. Not aside from the jewelry, because God wants you there. You're in this business for what? For cutting ribbons, for representing charities, going to the charity. They have a cake, they cut the cake. There really isn't, and I guess the porters come, oh, look, the royal person who belongs to the royal family. Which one is this? I don't recognize them. Take a picture. That's the job. And then wearing the crowns and all the jewels, which any of us can do very well. Really? But then again, I'm not sure if I would trust a president either, because man is corrupt. But the idea that God put you there, which means an excuse that everything is permissible. And if you see that the world is getting too big, you lessen the population of the world, and that's okay to do. That's why when you're so wealthy and you're up there, and that you don't become friends with the people below you, because they're below you. You're above. God put you there. You see how easy the divide and the disconnect and these type of things, and connecting to something with like the WEF makes sense. It doesn't make sense to us, but I guess a lot of people who are commenters, who hate us, it makes sense too. But we're on another level. So it's okay if they eat bugs. It's okay if they drink their own urine. They're not going to be rules for thee, but not for me. That's the name of the game. Now, it's great if Jesus came back. I would love it. So pray and walk forward with the truth, just like Jesus said to the apostles. He sent them out to be lambs among wolves, but be wise as serpents. And if anyone doesn't accept you in their town, just wipe the dirt off your feet and consider that you were never even there. Just walk away, which means just bluff it off, wash it away, forget about it. Just keep going forward, keep going forward, keep going forward, bringing the truth, and bringing the truth. And that God be with you. God is with the least. He who does these things to the least of mine, he does it to me. So these people in high places, if they really think they're there because of God, remember your God is Jesus. And the least of gods is God. So how you treat us down here is how you're treating him. So be wary of what you do. Peace be with you. And looking forward to seeing you again soon. I hope you have a very happy, blessed day. And if you go to church, go to church. Say hello to God. Say a prayer while you're there. Shake some people's hands or wave and say hello. Compliment them. Lift up their spirits. Everybody is worried and scared and sad. So any smile you give, any wave, any compliment, all these simple things that are free will help humanity more than you think. People who feel like they can't go on another day, another moment, and you just lift them up, brighten their spirits, and that can wash away. And then all of a sudden the sun shines, and then they see a path forward where they didn't see a path forward. So it's very simple. People who go to church, they're looking for hope. They're looking for God. They're going to pray. A lot of them are terribly sad. So it's the perfect place to lift someone's spirits and to touch them with God. So go out there, do that. And if you're an atheist, go to church, go somewhere. Go somewhere where there's people and do the same thing, because we all need it. Well, God bless you. Vaya con Dios means go with God. And I'll come back here. I'll see you again soon. Thank you for keeping me company at 3:00 in the morning. Good night, good morning, everyone. Okay. I'm sure there's a great song that has to do with that. Good morning, starshine. You lead us alone. I think it comes from Pear. Great, great musical. Anyway, God bless you and good morning. Good day. Alrighty. Love you all.